like to welcome you to this webinar about Israeli technology and innovation. My name is Shanik Fear. I'm a business development manager at Taiwan Trade and Innovation Center, TAITRA's branch in Israel. In the next hour, we will present a number of sessions. The first one will be about multinational companies' engagement with Israeli innovation and how to create partnerships with Israeli startups. Then we'll hear a short keynote speech from Winbond's Vice Chairman, Mr. Tungi Chan. The second discussion will showcase a great example of an existing collaboration between the Taiwanese giant Foxconn and Hailo, an Israeli startup. In the last session, we will hear about innovation in next-generation data center technology and of two Israeli startups which are developing disruptive solutions in this field. But first of all, let's hear from TAITRA's chairman, Mr. James Huang. Enjoy the webinar.
Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you to TAITRA's Israel Pavilion at InnoLEX Online and to this special webinar. InnoLEX Online is a special platform TAITRA has created to enable mutual communication between top innovators and tech industries to connect and form collaborations. For the past 2 years, TAITRA has been working to create new channels to support the innovation needs of Taiwan's industries by providing a path to engage with international innovation hubs and formed technological and strategic partnerships. The goal is to allow Taiwanese companies to leverage external innovation and integrate new technologies into their products, manufacturing processes, and more. As a first step, TAITRA has set up its first innovation center in Tel Aviv, the heart of the famous startup nation, Israel. The Israeli tech ecosystem is unique and exceptional in terms of entrepreneurial spirit and deep technology capabilities. With more than 7,000 active startups, 350 multinational companies, over 200 venture capitals, and a vibrant tech community. TAITRA and the branch in Israel can provide information and insights regarding Israeli startups and technologies, can identify opportunities and connect you, Taiwanese companies, to Israeli partners that can help transform your products, processes, and services. TAITRA's Tel Aviv branch is your gateway to engage with Israeli technology. This webinar and the Israeli Pavilion present the potential and opportunities for Taiwanese companies in engaging with Israel's tech ecosystem. I invite you to take this exciting ride with us at TAITRA and welcome you to reach out to us and explore together the great opportunities of engaging with Israeli innovation. Enjoy the webinar and hope to see you soon.
Hello, everybody. Very excited to be here today as part of the InnoLEX 2021 webinar and talk about multinationals' engagement specifically with Israeli innovation, and even more specifically, how to create winning synergies and partnerships, valuable partnerships with Israeli startup companies. So I'd like to start obviously with introducing our panel members here today that joined me. Barak, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, thank you, Renan. Very nice to meet you all. My name is Barak Salomon. I'm a partner at Red Dot Capital Partners. We are an Israeli-based expansion and early growth stage venture fund. We invest in, breakup Israeli technology companies, of course, and we support our portfolio companies in mainly identifying and navigating it throughout their opportunities, with a focus in Southeast Asia mainly and Japan.
Gilad?
Hi everyone, my name is Gilad Mairovich. I'm a partner and co-head of the Asia practice at Herzog Fox and Inman Law Offices, Israel's largest law firm. My main focus is on representation of Asian clients in their business dealings in Israel, Taiwanese clients, Korean clients, Japanese clients in investment and M&A deals, establishment of offices and innovation centers here, dealing in commercial engagements with the Israeli startups and more. I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you, guys. And let me finally introduce myself. My name is Arnon Kraft. I have over 20 years of experience in high-tech industry, most of it with the consumer electronics space, and all of that time included really extensive work and business in Asia, especially in 4 countries, Taiwan, China, Japan, and Korea, where I worked really with customers, with suppliers, with partners, with joint ventures, having my own team that we hired and managed in Asia. My most recent position was the general manager for strategic partnerships with Microsoft devices in Redmond, close to Seattle. And recently I moved back here to Israel, where I now work actually on both sides of those innovation synergies. On one hand, I am the technology scout of 2 multinationals from Asia here in Israel. One of them is Chicony, a leading ODM from Taiwan. And in addition, I also work with Israeli startup companies as an active advisory board member, helping them to scale and to develop their business. So as an overview or background, I thought maybe to start us off with a high-level introduction of multinationals' innovation activity in Israel. Barak, do you want to give us your perspective based on your experience?
Yeah, so I didn't say it earlier, but I was for 5 years the representative of a Japanese entity, Docomo Ventures, a multinational that had here and still have here presence. I think it's over now 50 years from the early 70s, but there's multinationals. I think IBM was the first. But currently, to the best of my knowledge, there are more than 500 of multinationals here in Israel. Most of them are still from the US and Europe. I think US is the first one. But, you know, we have here IBM, Intel, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and many other of very known, you know, insurance companies, and also from Asia. I think in the past 10, 15 years, you know, some Chinese firms, Japanese firms, you know, Sony. Sometimes it starts, and I think maybe Gilad in a second can elaborate because he's from the business side. It starts from an M&A. You buy here an Israeli company, and then you just expand it. But some of them just came in and, you know, had their own either accelerator or innovation center or representative or your own employees here just to get a much closer, you know, relationship with the Israeli high-tech.
Thank you. I agree. And I think the question that might come up, especially for those who don't have a high level of familiarity with the Israeli innovation ecosystem here, is really why engage with those Israeli startups? In other words, what are the main benefits that a global multinational, you know, company can gain? Gilad, can you share with us your thoughts on this?
Sure. So I think there's a couple of reasons why a global company would want to collaborate with an Israeli startup. One of the main reasons is that Israeli startups are very strong in creating technologies from scratch. There is a cliche that Israeli companies are very strong in creating something from 1 to 10, and the multinationals are able to scaling it up. So this is one reason. Another reason is that Israeli companies are very quick in adopting technologies and harness technologies in a way that will be fit for the reality. I think we've seen that during these COVID-19 times, where Israeli technology companies were very quick in adopting the technology and shifting it towards new solutions that was creating from scratch again. Israeli companies are very flexible. They are not afraid to fail. So if an Israeli company hits a wall, it's not the end of the game. Maybe it's the beginning. They're able to move left and right and find another solution or even a better solution. These are qualifications which characterize the Israeli high-tech ecosystem and can create a good synergy with a big multinational company, which is slower and less adaptive of such new technologies.
Thank you. I agree. Barak, do you have anything you want to add on that?
Well, always when you speak about, the Israeli innovation, everybody go back to culture issues, the fact that we don't take no for an answer. I think there's a very big cultural gap between, I think, Asians and Israelis, but I think we should enjoy that gap or that difference. So a lot of it is about our army service and the fact that many of us are doing a very technology related job during our army service, and then like the ecosystem, like the startup ecosystem enjoys it because you come very young guy or a lady where she's 22 or 23, but she has 4 or 5 years of very vast experience that in other places will take. So that's one thing. And I would add also that in Israeli culture, failure, and Gilad touched on it, but I will just emphasize it, nothing happened. So it's okay. You failed. You just move 20 degrees to the right and left and you try again. So there's a culture now, and it has been growing for the past almost 40 years, that people move from different companies. They go to work for these multinationals and they start their startup. It failed. They go back to Google. And so this all connections between all the people, and I think the culture that you want to succeed makes it that it's like innovation ecosystem on steroids. Everything happens really, really fast. You need to be very flexible, but if you get inside that ecosystem, you can really benefit from that innovation.
Oh, very true. And I can also share that from my experience, both at Microsoft and SanDisk, and also from the work I do today. Startups really have a great advantage of being able to focus on a very niche problem with a very niche solution. And they're willing to basically risk everything, including being closed, in order to get there. And I think that is a prerogative that I don't think larger companies necessarily have. Now, combine this with, as Barak said, the Israeli culture of creative thinking and being very target-oriented, I think it makes for a winning combination. So we talked about why and what the benefits are. Let's try to also cover the how. How is it done? So Barak, from your experience, what are the upsides in investing either directly or via a local VC in an Israeli startup company?
So, I think first and foremost, and it's not always the case of the multinationals, hopefully you have financial gain, of course. But many of them, it's not always their first priority. I've been working for 5 years for NTT, and I think that financial gain is great, but I'm not sure it's the number one, not talking on behalf of them. So there's more strategic, lookouts from that perspective, is to be exposed, to understand what's going on in that, and hopefully maybe to collaborate with your investee. I would say that if that's your main goal, just to get exposure, I think the best way to do it is to have a foot on the ground here. And I would also add that, again, I'm a more not an early stage investor, so I'm speaking a little bit on behalf of my asset class. But I would think that it will be more wise if one of your top goals is to have POC or maybe even use that technology. Since it still takes a few years to develop, I would go either to invest in a later stage fund or in a later stage company which already have a product. It's clear that they pass like the technology barrier, because many, I think, of the multinationals invest early stage, but then it's more maybe about financial gain and more only to know what's going on. But it's not about, let's have a business collaboration, just because it's still too early in terms of the maturity of that technology. So I would say foot on the ground, like to have your own, I think, Israeli persona or an office. I think it's very, very difficult to get around for an Asian person, and to connect directly with them. Which I assume if I would like to invest in Taiwan or in Japan, that would be the case as well. And the second is you need to understand your stage of where you want to get engaged and how mature that technology should be.
For sure. Gilad, can you talk to us a little bit about the major vehicles for multinationals to create this type of engagement with the Israeli tech ecosystem from your experience?
Sure. There's a couple of ways, and I think Barak has touched upon some of them earlier, but I will kind of summarize them. So I think probably the main vehicle is acquisition. We've seen that some of the largest American companies, whether Google, Microsoft, Apple, have bought Israeli companies and created R&D centers based on those acquisitions. Same thing with Intel and other Asian companies and European companies. So this is probably the main option. Then you have the option to create a local innovation center. We've seen that in a couple of cases. For instance, something that we dealt with, NEC, a major Japanese company that has decided to create an innovation center basically from scratch, bringing Israeli local guys and Japanese expats, creating a center for innovation, communicating with universities, with accelerators, and with the ecosystem in order to create joint programs, to learn the market, and to bring the information up to the organization and beyond. Another vehicle that we've seen is creation of liaison offices, meaning that the multinational is sending expats to Israel, open a local entity, whether a branch or an Israeli subsidiary. And this is mostly for business intelligence, creating some ties with the local market. So this is another model. Another model, as Barak has mentioned, is to find a great local person, a scouter, that will search the market for the multinational, provide information and also opportunities for commercial collaboration or investment opportunity. Then you move up or you move to another vehicle, and this is investments. First in VC funds. VC funds are in the center of the ecosystem. They know the market. In most cases, they provide a deal flow to their LPs, information, so that's a great resource. And then you have another layer, government organization like TAITRA or other organizations from other countries that provide market information, feeds by newsletters, etc. You have the Israeli Economic Mission in each country is doing, in Asia, they're doing a great job in providing information and opportunities. And then you have local research companies in Israel, blogs, newsletters, and so forth. So I think there are plenty of opportunities, and the trick here is to find the right match for you and for the company, and this is all aligned with the strategic goals.
Thank you. And I can also share from my personal experience as a technology scout, and we're looking for technology partnerships, that whether the multinational established a research office here or a single person as a tech scout, such as myself, a key part of that for that local person or team here is really to understand what are the main problems or issues or gaps that the multinational is trying to achieve by partnering with the local innovation ecosystem. Is it the short-term gaps or a need that needs to be solved, or something longer term that's more strategic? I can also say that, apart from looking for and hopefully finding those solutions for specific gaps, having a technology scouting function here also provides the multinationals with a sort of a window to better understand industry trends going forward that can potentially help with strategic roadmap decisions as well. So I think we talked about why and how to engage with the local ecosystem here, but perhaps a more practical approach. And if we have companies from Taiwan listening to this, they would ask themselves, okay, can you give us some practical tips if we want to start engaging with the Israeli ecosystem? So Gilad, do you want to start us off with any practical tips that you might have for them, how to start this engagement in Israel?
Yeah, so from the business perspective, I think the first step is to establish a good communication channel with your Israeli counterparty. Obviously, English is, you have to have on your team people who speaks who speak English fluently, but also people who understand the Israeli culture, the startup culture, the need from the Israeli side to keep track with the discussion. Israelis would expect you to be direct and frank with them, to keep an open communication channel, to respond to emails. So that's obviously very important. From the legal side, my kind of tip would be just to try to summarize the main points for the business discussion, to keep a kind of a written record just for the sake of the process. And once the parties are more mature to move forward, to create maybe a term sheet or an MOU, but with real business terms. We've seen, for instance, so my advice is just to, if you reach the right stage, just to create something detailed. You can use your legal counsel in-house or outside counsel to help you with that. And also to remember that although in most cases those term sheets or MOUs are non-binding, from the Israeli perspective, they would expect that if you agreed on something, that will be part of your agreement when you reach a definitive agreement and try to close the deal. You cannot tell your Israeli counterparty, listen, we signed a non-binding term sheet, therefore we're not bind and we can start from scratch the discussion again. That will probably lead to a very big gap and disappointment, and will not lead to good results. So I would, my recommendation here is, as I mentioned, to take very seriously what you're putting into writing.
Completely agree. Barak, do you have any tips you want to share with us?
You know, as I said, I worked for NTT for almost 5 years. I think what worked really good for our benefit is, one, I think you need to have a buy-in of management from the multinational, like at the highest level, because it's about resources and priorities. That's one thing. I think the second thing is that if you're serious about Israel, you need to understand what will be the best way to act here. And from my experience, you need to have Israeli presence here. And even if you fly in and out, again, putting aside COVID-19 and what everybody is experiencing now, you need to have someone on the ground locally, like you, for example, in that case. And that was my also job for NTT for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And the third thing is just understand that Israelis are different. Many of them are very suitable to or used to work with either European or Americans. We are very direct in our answers. You know, you shouldn't get insulted, but we are much more direct than the average, I think, Asian culture. But other than that, it's a great place to come. And definitely if you look for top-notch innovation, you know, like Silicon Valley, Israel is second to none in that perspective, or maybe only second for Silicon Valley.
Yeah, for sure. And I really think that between Gilad and Barak, they covered all of the aspects. Not to repeat anything, I will add that from my experience doing this for a couple of years, I think there's two other maybe success factors that will have that are needed. One is to really define the process between headquarters in Taiwan or Asia and the technology scout and the companies here. And it's important to make sure that the companies that the function you have here reaches out to, that they understand the process of exactly how decisions are being made, who makes the decisions, what information is needed to make those decisions. Because the more everything is structured and clear, I think that provides for a better chances for success. And in addition, and Barak and Gilad both mentioned that the cultural gap, I think it's the responsibility of the technology scout here to be the facilitator and communication agent between the teams in Asia and here, and to make sure that nothing gets lost in translation. And I don't mean the language barrier. I mean the cultural difference. Sometimes we say something, but we mean a different thing. And for that, I really think that you need somebody who, first of all, knows Israel and has the right network here in the ecosystem, but also, and this is key, understands, in this case, the Taiwanese culture and the way of doing things in Taiwan.
Great.
So thanks again, Gilad and Barak, for taking part of this panel.
Thank you for having us.
Professionals in engagement in Israel. Any closing comments or statements, Gilad?
Yes, I think these days, even more than ever, it makes a lot of sense to partner with the Israeli innovation ecosystem. These days where it's more difficult to find solutions, creative solutions, the Israeli market has proven to be one of the top markets for technological solutions.
Just come and visit us. Yeah, Israel is starting to vaccinate it, and I'm reading about it. So I hope in 6 months it will be reasonable to come. You just need to come and see it for yourself, and I think it will be obvious once you come here. So we'll be more than welcome to host everybody and just come and see Israel and the innovation that we are building in.
Yeah, for sure. I think all of us hope that 2021 will be a year of more face-to-face and less work from home and Zoom calls.
Definitely.
Let's see. I will just quickly summarize by saying that Israel, despite having only 9 million people, has over 6,000 startup companies, and it's a country with the most startup companies per capita. And only the US and China have more companies listed on NASDAQ than Israel, which, if you look at the numbers, is pretty amazing. You really need to be here, as both Gilad and Barak said, in order to understand how much innovation is running in the veins of the industry here. And I have no doubt that as many leading multinationals, as mentioned before, have already discovered, being here and tapping into the ecosystem can really bring great benefits. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And
thank you.
Hi, this is Tongyi Chen, Vice Chairman of Winbond. Winbond is one of the few Taiwan companies with subsidiary in Israel. Currently, we have 2 R&D centers in Israel. One R&D center developed the security product of Secure Element and the Secure Flash under the entity of Winbond. The other R&D center developed the security microcontroller product for PC and the server under the entity of Nuvoton. Israel has a pool of engineering talent who are innovative and have wide expertise. Many worldwide leading companies also have R&D centers in Israel. It creates a unique innovation ecosystem that can support the development of advanced technology and advanced product. It is similar to the Silicon Valley in USA. That's the reason that Winbond established R&D centers in Israel. Another benefit of the presence in Israel is to establish the contact and the cooperation with the local startup ecosystem. It can create opportunity at catching the market trend, triggering innovative architecture for new product, forming the cooperation with a system-level company for Winbond security product, and even the investment in the new startup. Winbond experience in Israel can be a reference for more Taiwan companies to invest in Israel. It can help Taiwan companies to tap the world-class talent, the market trend, the cooperation with the leading company, and the opportunity of new business. My last word, welcome to Israel.
Everybody, I'm really happy to be here today with you and share some of the current innovation activities between Israel and Taiwan in this session. My name is Shanik Fear. I'm a business development manager at TAITRA's branch in Israel, Taiwan Trade and Innovation Center. In this session, we will present a great example of an existing collaboration between Taiwan and Israel. This is a strategic partnership in the field of AI between one of Taiwan's leading and largest companies, Foxconn, which I don't need to introduce as much, which is also a global leader in electronics, and on the other hand, one of Israel's prominent startups in AI, Hailo. When we talk about AI and computing capabilities at the edge, we see the widespread uses of AI in devices that can be found in our homes, pockets, factories, and essentially everywhere these days. One of the current major challenges in the processing of data in real time and the infrastructure to enable the incredible features of AI at the edge. Foxconn, a global leader, a global smart manufacturing powerhouse that develops and provides edge computing solutions for industrial uses, has chosen to integrate Hailo's advanced AI processor to its edge device in order to add substantial capabilities. And we'll hear all about this in our session. But first, let's meet our panelists. So, Benjamin, let's start with you, and we'll move on.
Okay. Hi. Good day. I'm Benjamin from Associate Solutions BU within Foxconn Conductor subgroup. So we have a slogan called "From Silicon to Solutions." So yes, we do design SoCs from small ICs like PMIC, sensor IC, RFIC, to big ICs like MCU, TV SoC, server SoC, etc. And I think, of course, it's corresponding system solutions as well. So from our experiences, SoC itself is not easy to sell. So we think we have to provide the SoC solutions. So that's why we said from silicon to solutions. And recently, we turned our focus to the AI total solutions for Foxconn's smart manufacturing. The obvious result is that we now have the intelligent edge computing platform solution, FoxEdge, which has a built-in AI accelerator that runs different neural networks for different scenarios in the field. I think we are going to make a big announcement on unsupervised learning algorithm that we've already developed for 8 months. So I think you will soon see it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Benjamin. Liran?
Hey guys, my name is Liran. I'm the VP of Business Development here at Hailo. And some words about Hailo. Hailo is an Israeli-based AI chip maker. We develop a specialized AI processor that delivers the performance of data center classes computer to edge devices. Hailo's AI processor is a product of thinking of traditional computer architecture that was known until today, enabling smart devices to perform sophisticated deep learning tasks such as classification, object detection, segmentation in real time, and with minimal power consumption, size, and cost. Our business model is to sell the AI chip, M.2 and mini PCIe, to variant markets such as smart cities, automotive, smart home, and retail. We can share information later on.
Great. Thank you both. We'll start with a few questions. So, Benjamin, what is Foxconn's activity in the field of AI these days, and what were the challenges you faced in regards to AI capabilities at the edge?
Okay, I think that's a good question. I think Foxconn is famous for its MEMS in the world. Smart manufacturing, I would say that AI empowers the in manufacturing. It's not under the hood. So as you might know, we have lots of data generated every day on the production line. For example, the server, router, TV box, gaming console, lots of consumer products, you name it. And all this data would be the base of development for production optimization. We have to, always need to think about how to do the cost down. So for the last decade, I think big data, SI, BI, and AI now, all these new emerging technologies show up to solve people's problems. So Foxconn could not miss it for sure. So we need to optimize how we normally manufacture for every product. For example, the operators need to check if there's any defect on the surface of the case. Although there is a defect definition in place, it's still difficult to tell where the defect is, especially for the defects are quite tiny. So, and many defects have a lot of variance. We found the more the operator inspects, the faster he or she can justify. So we cannot afford to lose these experienced inspectors. So that's why we think AI is supposed to replace this kind of human investigation. I think that's what Foxconn has already done in the AI field. Okay.
Thank you.
Should I go through the challenges?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think as for the challenges we face right now, I think people, I would say the first one, because first of all, the top management don't know every detail of AI adoption. I think that's fine. But if they do have a wrong expectation, then this will become a disaster to us. For example, they might ask, if already had the lots of data, may I have the AI enabled examination tomorrow? So you see, AI is not the kind of a magic that you can have one AI model in a second. So that would be the first I have to say. And secondly, I think the line manager, everything on the production line is in good shape. So no need to change it. We always face the same question when we go to the production line. So they don't really want to AI for now. Please find somebody else. So that would be very vertical to us. So I think I would say that the line manager would be our second problem we encountered. And the third one would be the operator themselves, because AI is going to take over my job. So how come I should listen to you? And I want that make it happen. So go away. That's the problem we face right now, and then the challenge you have to overcome. But you may ask, how about the AI algorithm? Isn't it the most challenging one we face? But actually, no. We can only say that AI algorithm is not the most difficult part. Although sometimes the training just kills us. But I think that's still okay. The problem is it's always how you convince people we can do it, and this will really help you, no matter it's for you personally or for the company, right? So I do think the most challenging one while adopting AI is how to get the right data at the right time. When we use for example, we used to collect at least 5 data on the same production line with the same illuminator configuration on the same production line in 1 week. So even the same production line, we got different data at different time. So lots of lessons learned that we've already had. I think that would be very useful for the future AI development. Okay.
Yep. Great, thank you. Liran, from your side, what can you share a bit of information on Hailo's technology and how it supports Foxconn's needs and challenges as presented by Benjamin?
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, we developed the AI processor for the edge devices, very unique one that eventually provide very low power and very high performance. And obviously, when we started the engagement with Foxconn, which is a large-scale company, we combined their boxy edge that Benjamin mentioned. It's an edge box without any fan, with very robust design, with our M.2 AI modules. We just plug it into an existing device. So from Foxconn point of view, it's kind of a plug and play. They took out the existing solution, which had some issues to gain more traction in the market, and we provided without changing the boxy design, the PCB, to plug in the M.2 with correct software, and together with the Benjamin software capabilities team that we can discuss later on, the combination provide a market leading energy efficient standalone AI inference node that benefit application including smart cities, smart medical, smart retail, and industry 4.0.
Great. When
Yep.
what are the major benefits Foxconn gains through its partnership with Hailo? And if you can say a bit more about the partnership, how was the partnership with an Israeli startup in general?
Okay, that's good. We know Israel has lots of good talents and good IC companies. Lots of famous innovation companies like Habana and Prime Sense, Mobileye, Sensor Security. I think they all came from Israel. Actually, Foxconn had several talks with these companies before or after their acquisition. We do admire Israelis' IC design capability, especially for the Hailo. It looks quite similar to what Taiwanese have done in terms of technology development for the whole industry trend. So per se, we provide total solutions for different industries: smart manufacturing, smart retail, smart medical, smart agriculture. But one thing in common, the edge computing platform BoxEdge, which has built-in Hailo AI accelerator and the Foxconn's AI algorithm, as Liang mentioned. So not only for the edge computing, Foxconn also aimed at cloud computing. We are always looking for partners that can co-work together to conquer different real-world challenges. Hailo's AI SI provides the edge computing for the industry IoT in manufacturing industry. As for the cloud computing, I think we still have a lot of opportunities to talk to the Israel companies. Okay. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Liran, how do you see the partnership from your side? What's the experience been like for a small startup from Israel working with Foxconn?
So obviously for a young startup like us, we were established in 2017, and one of the first strategic partnership that we built is with Foxconn. So it's a great honor for us to have this kind of partnership with Foxconn, which is a global smart manufacturing powerhouse. This is not just a project. This is actually a unique strategic partnership that we built with Foxconn, and specifically Benjamin team. And during this partnership, we created this kind of unique value proposition to customer, either internal for their internal use in their factories, or external to different global companies, not only in Taiwan. So we are very happy for that one, this collaboration. Foxconn obviously has a lot of experience. We learned from them, and they get advantage to have access to this kind of cutting edge technology on the AI, where we are expert on that one. So it's a great synergy between the two companies that many other companies, OEM, will benefit out of it.
Yeah, sounds super interesting. So if we, Liran, you touched on it just now, but if we continue with you, what's the plans for the future for this strategic partnership?
So the strategic partnership is we already have the first product out there, which is the Boxy Edge with the M.2 inside, and inside this Boxy Edge, it's worth to remind that there is a host inside that is also collaboration with the Socionex from Japan. So it's a great offering that we provide to the market. During this strategic partnership, we built a very, very strong relationship between the two companies, and personally with the Benjamin team. Usually ODM has a very good, strong capability on the hardware, but less on the software. And here with specifically with the Benjamin team, they have a very strong software capability, which enable us a great advantage, because we provide them all the technical support that is needed, and they are capable of supporting the end customer. So it's great benefit to us. There are several projects out there in the pipeline, and if Benjamin would like to talk about it, it's fine.
Okay.
Benjamin, you mentioned an announcement, so we'll be happy to hear more details as you can share.
Okay, I think before I talk about the unsupervised learning, I think I just want to say something in general. So I think recently Foxconn just announced the 3+3 corporate strategies. Three future industries are the EV, digital health, and the robotics, and three big technologies: AI, 5G, and the semiconductor. So in the coming future, we plan to use AI and the 5G together for the real-world applications. For example, the EV. So in October, Foxconn initiated the MRH Alliance for the EV open source development platform. So I think ADAS is one of the key features that the MRH platform will provide. So we think there will be a big opportunity for both Foxconn and Hailo to conquer this application. So I think we know Hailo has good AI computing power and low power consumption for the edge. So we may take this opportunity to provide the AI solutions, ADAS, for MRH. But yes, we should build the team first before we really come into the more details. Okay, so for the I think unsupervised learning is a kind of we are doing the defect inspection, and it's not easy to create all the defects in the field. Sometimes it just takes more than 2 years to create all the defects. We think maybe we have another way that's unsupervised. So previously we call it supervised learning. For the unsupervised learning, we just use the positive sample. So we use the positive samples to train our AI model. Then you don't have to worry about how to correct the defects in the field. So that would save us, I think, a lot of time to do the training. And right now, we've already had a good model and applied on the production line. That's good. So I think we'll announce this achievement. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I think
yeah.
It was really good, interesting, super fascinating to hear the foundations for this partnership and the actual synergy, and also that there's a growth opportunities here for both companies. So any last words? Any messages that you want to deliver, Lian or Benjamin, before we end this?
I'll give to Benjamin.
Okay, I think that's good. So far, I think we have a good relationship with Hailo. I think that's good, and we should continue for a more strategic partnership. Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on our end, we are very, very happy with this collaboration, and we're happy specifically with Benjamin's capabilities, his team. All the team here in Israel are very happy with this collaboration. They feel that there is an expert on the other side, so it's always good. And above all, for TAITRA, Shani, to you and your team for helping us with Taiwanese companies. So thank you very much to you, Emma and Inbal, and for that one. Thank you.
Sure. So just to wrap up, I think this is a great example of a synergy, of the complementary part between two companies collaborating from Israel and Taiwan. And I want to thank you both for taking the time and sharing sharing the details for this partnership, and wishing you the best of luck. And I think we'll wrap up with this. So thank you all, and we'll see you soon, hopefully in Taiwan in person.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So fireside chat on next generation data center. So we at Grow Ventures like to refer to Israel as the deep tech nation, as a fan base on the original startup nation slogan that became Israel branding in the global market. The reason for that is that when one take a closer look at the region of Israeli startup success, most of those are focused on tech-first innovation. Most of that tech were based on innovation from the academy and army, and therefore mostly deep tech like sensors, semiconductor, networking, advanced vision, robotics, and medical devices. Semiconductor-related innovation played a leading role in Israeli tech ecosystem, drive us companies like M-System, Galileo, Mellanox, Due Networks, Habana, and many more led the ecosystem forward with global companies such as Intel, Marvell, Freescale, and later also Apple and Amazon relied on their Israeli subsidiaries to lead their semiconductor design efforts. Similarly to Israel's focus on deep tech, Taiwan took this focus on innovation to the next level as it emerged as the global leader in semiconductor design and manufacturing with firms such as TSMC, UMC, ASE Technology Holding, MediaTek, and many more. This dual deep tech leadership can further promote the partnership between the Israeli-Taiwanese technology ecosystem. So now let's do introduction of our panel. So Uri, you will start.
Yeah, thanks Omri. Happy to be here with you and Hisham. So I'm Uri, I'm the CEO of Pliops. Pliops product is a data processor that is fundamentally improves the way data is being stored, accessed, managed, protected, and analyzed. The bottom line that we provide is a huge cost performance gain for data centers and solving the bottleneck that is created because of the gap between compute and storage in today's world where compute is stagnating and doesn't scale as efficiently as storage, that is exploding in capacities and in performance. And our product is enabling scalability due to the cost performance gains, and it is a result of simplifying the backend stack of data centers significantly and cutting back on data amplification of the system, which means that we write less data, read less data, store less data, and offload a lot of compute for CPUs and cores to do more significant tasks in the system. So that's essentially what we do in Pliops, and happy to be here, as I said previously.
Great. We'll be happy to learn about Terramount.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Omri. Glad to be here today and present myself and Terramount. My name is Hisham Taha, Terramount CEO. Terramount developed a technology for connecting lights to chip for a high-speed data transfer for applications in datacom and telecom. So specifically data center optical connectivity or high-performance computing and the future optical connectivities in areas like 5G sensors and in general chip-to-chip optical connectivity. So we innovated the photonic plug technology, which enables a scalable way to connect a fiber or a laser to a silicon photonic chip and get, in fact, a scalable and cost-effective way to perform high-speed optical connectivity. The technology has been proven and already demonstrated with the chips of leading industrial vendors. We are moving now to productization. The technology will impact the entire semiconductor industry by aligning the silicon manufacturing with optics. This generally will generate will cause to different ecosystem players to act in optics and combine it successfully with silicon.
Perfect. Uri, so first question to you. How can Pliops storage acceleration change the modern configuration of data centers? Can Pliops tech create new business opportunities for the data centers of the future?
Okay, so yeah, it's a very exciting time to be in the data center space. Innovation and the revolution that is undergoing in this space, starting with Grove's managing partner, right, with Dov Moran and the introduction of flash SSDs. But data explosion is a well-known fact today, right? SSD storage is expected to grow by 40x in the next 10 years or so. Only a single-digit percentage of this data is being analyzed today because of several bottlenecks in the compute infrastructure. And the key word here is scalability. It's naturally, nobody wants to duplicate all the data centers 40x times in the next 10 years. And there is, and in order to accommodate and support those amounts of data, it is critical to fundamentally change the architecture and the way data is being stored and, as I said, accessed and managed in those data centers. And so the number one, first and foremost value that we provide is enabling scalability, the ability to support much more data on the same infrastructure and to scale effectively your data center to accommodate to those volumes. And with this approach, we are obviously enabling both present and future data centers to unleash their potential and to reach a great value. And we are talking both on hyperscale type of data centers, cloud providers like Amazon, Microsoft, and the other guys, and superscaler, tier one web scale, and then the others. So all of them are suffering from the same essential issues. So that's number one of how we enable data centers to grow. And the second one is that by providing faster, larger scale data in the system, and data being the key component in companies today, leading companies are all about managing the data and getting insights from the data and monetizing it. So providing the data in a fast and consistent pace is enabling a platform for architectural changes and for new applications that can thrive on top of it. We have a wave of machine learning, big data analytics today, and other types of application trying to get more and more out of the data. And we are enabling those in a fundamental way, both in disaggregated manner or in a hyper-convert one, to reach their potential and to open more and more opportunities in business intelligence and ad targeting and all of those segments essentially. And talking to customers today, we're seeing that with GPUs, TPUs, all of those monster clusters on the application side, someone needs to feed those monsters. And this is where we come in and we provide the same processing power and the same capabilities to deliver this data to those monsters in the pace that is required without creating bottlenecks.
Yeah, so this is amazing because it's a good time to talk with Hisham because I think, he's also pushing a lot of data to those data centers. So Hisham, how can Terramount photonic plug technology enhance a change, the data center interconnect and create more efficient and scalable data centers?
Yeah, so as Uri mentioned, the data traffic is continue to accelerate, and this requires a significant change of the data center infrastructure. And here the photonic plug, the technology which we developed, will play a critical role in two key issues, in fact, in data center scalability. One is bandwidth, and the second is power. So we know that the optics or photonics is the ultimate solution for higher bandwidth, for providing multiple terabit per link or per lane, and under reasonable power requirements. And we know also, as a matter of fact, that when optics become reliable and cost effective, it takes over copper and it replaces electrical connectivity. We've nicely seen this in fiber to the home example. So when it becomes cheaper and reliable, it's just penetrating everywhere. And this is what we hope that the data center will go to perform this change. So data by the photonic plug technology, optical connectivity will be scalable. It will be much in terms of cost. It will cost less. So we believe there will be a deeper integration of optics in data centers at the different level. So we are witnessing this today by moving from the different generations of pluggable connectivity between 100 gig, 400 gig, and very soon the 400 gig, and then a deeper integration into what is called the co-package optics. So this is definitely something which the photonic plug technology can enable for providing the suitable infrastructure for a higher bandwidth and for reasonable power consumption. We believe also that scalability of optical connection, which is tricky today, specifically for laser connection and for single mode fiber connections in data center. So when it becomes scalable and when it becomes manufacturable in a reliable way, we believe that more vendors will start to act in this domain. So we believe that this will be a good enhancement of the entire ecosystem, acting in to merge between optics and data centers.
Amazing. And Uri, when you look, on the future of data center, what do you think would be, number one change from today? Because also today, data center are huge, so much data, and we are doing everything. And after COVID, everything is digital transformation, right? What do you think number one that we will see in 5 years from now, and everybody will listen to you will say, wow, Uri told us that on 2021?
Sure. So yeah, it's I have to imagine that like 10 years ago or 5 years ago, if you ask the same question, nobody would have guessed the transformation that happened in the past few years. The pace of acceleration, data centers is awesome, and companies like us are relying on each other to innovate across the stack, right? So everyone are moving on the same pace. In my view, and the way Plyops is looking at the future of data centers, in many aspects, the future is already here in terms of the seeds are already planted. It's still in the infancy of adoption, but we see many trends and trying to enable them with Plyops technology and product. First is specific domain optimization. It can be specific domain processing or acceleration, where essentially the scale of data is making it not cost effective or putting a lot of dollars on the table if you don't optimize per solution. You cannot ignore, even if you have a Cassandra and Spark, the platform that is running, you need to optimize it. Otherwise, and if you try to have one solution fit all in a way that is very generic, you are bound to lose something. And the reason you're losing is because today's processors are not generic enough and cannot provide the max potential per application. So that's one thing that I see in hardware acceleration and shifting back to dedicated processing. And as I mentioned earlier, GPUs and TPUs were the first, doing it on the higher layers of the stack, where the indication there, Habana Lab, GraphCore, Sambanova, all of those companies, right, doing AI acceleration are setting the trend. And the only solution is basically dedicated processing per location in the stack. That's one. I think the other one is indicated by DPU and the adoption of it's kind of two contradiction issues, but you want to disaggregate the storage from the compute, but all the compute functions related to storage and related to networking, related to the application, you want them all on the same place, looking at the stack from above. And this is something that Amazon is leading, obviously. And we see it with their Nitro chip and the ability to manage the flash and to do the hypervisor accelerated and provide analytics acceleration. And here we see, and we're enabling it in many ways by providing differentiation, by doing not only the networking and RDMA parts, but also the storage acceleration in a fundamental way to reduce the traffic over the network, to enable everything to be done basically, let's say, CPU-free to some extent, or serverless in the sense that is used today. So this is another one, and maybe just a half one that will remain and still here as well, is that nobody can predict the applications that will be 2 years from now. So flexibility is the key here as well. So when you put those processors like ours to accelerate storage, you need to even though it's ASIC and it's hardened and everything is there, you need to be able to allow some level of flexibility to add features, to do some more add code to the chip on the processors and dedicated stuff like this to enable longevity of the product itself. So those are the main things on our perspective that are, as I said, the seeds are here. Adoption is not huge yet, but we'll get there very fast, faster than everybody thinks, actually.
Perfect. So Hisham, same question, and because of timing, also please refer to success story or partnership that you think that TeraMount can do in Taiwan. It's also important for this discussion.
Okay, so first, in terms of data centers, the future data centers, I believe the main, I can speak from optics perspective, we will see more deployment of optics at different levels. And I would specify here the chip-to-chip connectivity. Ori mentioned GPU and the heavy workloads for AI applications. So we believe a more high performance computing application would require a higher bandwidth with optical connectivity. So we will be speaking about more efficient equipment or high performance computing with chip-to-chip optical connectivity. So it's completely different level of data transfer between GPUs and the CPUs. As when optical connectivity becomes scalable, then you could extend it to longer reach. So it's simply thinking that data centers will be larger, okay? They will take more real estate. And so there will be more and more mega data centers, which looks bigger than today. Obviously with a different cooling technologies compared to comparing copper to optics. So generally speaking, we will see more optics compared to copper. We will see more photonic plugs in data centers, right? And in terms of like collaborations or engagements, we do have engagements with players in Taiwan, and we cannot publicly mention more details, but definitely in Taiwan there are major semiconductor vendors, both in wafer manufacturing and also in packaging. So for us as a company which extends the semiconductor to the next generation with optics, so we are looking forward to performing more collaboration with vendors, with semiconductor vendors in Taiwan.
Great, and Uri, you are summarizing this discussion. Your collaboration with Taiwan, what do you think PLIOPS can do more?
Sure. So until recently, we focused mainly on the US and Chinese markets, where the big customers are sitting naturally. But we are now at the phase of global expansion as a company, after having the design wins in those markets and being more confident on our ability to contribute across markets. We are there. I think there are many interesting collaborations and partnerships in Taiwan. One is obviously on the manufacturing side with TSMC that you mentioned earlier, and this is something that is definitely with the ASIC that we are developing is a huge interaction point. And the other is also partnering with companies like Quanta and other channels that can help us going to the market effectively, actually worldwide, right? Those companies are not limited to the Taiwanese market. And this is definitely something that we are exploring those days, and we'll be happy to learn more in the coming months.
Perfect. So first, thank you very much for the time today. Second, let's take the vaccine, and next time let's visit together in Taipei and do it on a stage and not in a virtual Zoom, right? So thank you for the time. And
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Looking forward to that.
That's it for our webinar. We hope you enjoyed the discussions and found them interesting. Before you go, I would like to mention that TAITRA has established the Israeli branch as an innovation hub to connect Taiwanese companies with Israel's technological ecosystem and to be your gateway to Israeli innovation. I'm happy to invite any Taiwanese company interested in Israeli innovation to contact us for any inquiry. Please feel free to reach out to us. See you soon. 谢谢。